Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Money and Me podcast by the Coin Republic. I am your host, Varuni, and we're bringing yet another super interesting guest from the depths of Web3, crypto, and blockchain. And that is none other than Pablo, who's the CEO of SenseiNode. It's great that I'm finally able to catch a hold of him, and today we're going to know all about Pablo's journey in this space as well as about SenseiNode. Hi, Pablo. It's great to have you on my show. How are you doing this fine evening for me and most likely afternoon for you?
Hi, Varuni. Very happy to join the show. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm based in Madrid these days.
It's lovely to hear you from Madrid, and I'm sure you will be able to give us all the deep insights about the LatAm communities as well as what's happening in EU. So that's going to bring a lot of perspective into our show. But usually, the first question that I ask my guests whenever they join in is, how did you fall into this rabbit hole of a space that is Web3, blockchain, and crypto? So if you could talk about your journey, how did you make that switch from Web2 to Web3, or whatever your life was before this happened to you, the massive, Web3 slap happened. So how was it before that, and how did you make the switch?
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm originally from Argentina, and I started building companies first in Web 1. I created the biggest online recruitment company in Latin America. And then I also built companies in Web 2. And what happened, what for me was key of Web 3, coming from Argentina, that at that moment it's a country like with a lot of problems in terms of currency depegging from other currencies, and censorship of the capital, flow of capital internally, externally, moving in and out. So for many reasons, crypto become for Argentinians. There's a massive adoption and becomes like a safe place to invest in, for example, in stablecoin, and to have the money safe. So I realized that it was solving real problems, and that was my entering point of this crypto rabbit hole. And once I get in, we I see so many new opportunities.
Right. I think it was last year, 2024, when I came across this report by Chain Analysis where they spoke about how LatAm's crypto adoption is much higher than a lot of other countries. You rightly mentioned the reasons behind that, and they said that the communities represented about over 9% of the crypto value received between July to 2023 to June 2024, and it mentioned a stark rise in stablecoin adoption that came from LatAm. So if you could talk a little bit about that, how is the current status quo looking like, and what are sort of citizens or natives most excited about in these countries?
Yes. As I mentioned, like crypto in Latin America is not speculative; it's more like a survival tool, because of inflation, capital controls, broken financial rails, high commissions, high interest rates. Um, for Latin America, it's a way of doing things frictionless, and also a way of save uh, um, money by going to a stable coin, pegged to the dollar, rather than in the local currencies with high inflation. So in the day to day, people use it for payments, cross border payments, remittance that they receive from the US or of Europe, or from their family, for example, in Mexico or Colombia, and also for cross border commerce. Um, Imagine importing goods and services, products from China or from Asia. Now it's much more easier to do the transactions in stablecoin, rather than foreign exchange from the local currency in Peru, the sol in Peru, then go into the yuan with local banks, with escrow accounts, like all that process, and foreign exchanges, make it much more difficult to transact. So these are the main uses: remittance, global commerce, and also to receive payment from abroad for talent that work remote from Latin America.
Oh, that sounds amazing. It almost sounds like what founders and entrepreneurs all across the globe are trying to do with users. That's something that Latin American countries already are doing. They have the user base, and it's a lot smoother than what we see all across the globe. That being said, I would love to know more about SenseiNode. How did you guys come to founding SenseiNode? What is the core idea, the vision and mission behind this company? If you can talk a little bit about that, Pablo, please.
Yes, absolutely, Varuni. So we started almost 4 years ago with the idea of helping decentralize blockchain at the beginning in Latin America. We realized that from all the proof of stake networks, less than 1% of the nodes, validators of the protocols were in Latin America. Like most of them are in Europe and in the US. So as it's key for these protocols to be decentralized, not only geographically but also jurisdictionally, like to have validators in new jurisdictions, and also in terms of latency, it's important to have local clusters in different regions. So it was very clear for us our core value proposition to help decentralize all the proof of stake protocol networks by deploying infrastructure validators in Latin America. That was our core mission idea, and it grows exponentially, and now we are expanding globally.
I heard that you're, of course, expanding globally, and you spoke about decentralization and why why it matters to sort of spread out the blockchain network itself. If I'm not wrong, there are quite a few nodes running up and running with SenseiNode. If you can talk a little bit more about that and why this sort of geographical diversity matters so much when we talk about the core concept of decentralization.
Yeah, it matters first in terms of geographically diversification helps to have less possible point of failure of the networks. Like being in different jurisdiction, it doesn't rely only in the decision of one government to say that a validator or a cryptocurrency is a security or it is not, or it's a financial product or it is not. If you're in many jurisdictions, you lower the risk of any kind of censorship. Secondly, because of latency, if you build a cluster of nodes in Latin America for certain kind of operations like high frequency trading, it's important the milliseconds of the transaction. So for latency, it's also important to have nodes in every region. Third, for in terms of data centers, like most of the validators in the US and Europe are either in Amazon Web Services or the other data centers like Google Cloud, where at the end of the day is totally concentrated in one provider. So what we do in Latin America is we work closely with local and regional data centers. And actually, we were the first ones to bring crypto to these data centers, and that also make the networks, the protocols, more resilient and better distributed their validators. So that is why it's important to cover all the world and not only Europe and the US.
Right. When I was reading about SenseiNode, it interestingly showed up how you guys have over 1 billion in assets. So when we talk about especially such a large amount of assets being under control, what are the security measurements that you guys are taking at SenseiNode? Security, privacy have always been such a core issue with the Web3 space at large. I'd love to get more insights into what sort of setups do you guys have in place to ensure that top-notch level of security.
Yeah, that's a great question. First, our services are non-custodial, which means that the the protocol foundations or the exchanges or the institutional clients we have, they delegate to our nodes their stake, but they are in full control of the keys. And but internally for SenseiNode, we are super proud that we are one of the only five node operators worldwide that go through two very important certifications. One is the SOC2 certification, and the other one is the ISO 27001. So we go through all the auditing process of SenseiNode as a company, systems, operations, security. So we are ready to work with top financial institutions in the US and Europe that want to generate a yield, a reward on their tokens. So security, we go through the maximum level of security certifications.
That's super interesting. You mentioned about your institutional clients, and off late, of course, institutional staking is growing as well as I feel a lot of institutions are getting into crypto, which was earlier considered to be more of a, it was considered a not safe space or a whirlwind of the financial market. But now a lot of institutional clients are sort of pivoting towards crypto. How do you see ETFs sort of fitting in that larger narrative? And ETFs have been the talk of the town for the past 1 year. I'm sure that SenseiNode has a key role to play when it comes about the larger ETF structure and institutional clients in picture. If you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the ETFs are the Trojan horse for the institutional capital. Once staked assets like Ethereum enter the ETF structure, it's like you're merging traditional finance with on-chain yield without the end investor ever touching the crypto, right? And here's the catch: it's the like if these ETFs route staking through a handful of centralized players, we will end up like in a validator oligopoly. So at the end of the day, what Sensei is offering, like a way of decentralizing the institutional staking. We bring like institutional grade infrastructure to our clients. So ETF is going to be huge, and more institutions will get into the crypto thanks to this kind of new financial product for crypto. And we also envision like new products. Now we have the ETF of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but most probably uh, other protocols like Solana will get access to an ETF financial product. And also there are conversations for um, like an ETF of already staked token, like STETH, which is the liquid staking token of Lido. So probably there will also be entering the ETF market.
Hmm, interesting. In fact, a lot of altcoins are now set to enter the ETF market, XRP, Cardano. There's just so much talk around all the different, altcoins entering the ETF market. It's sure to give a lot of exposure and secure exposure to institutional players without a doubt. But when there were more retailers, fewer institutions, I feel the regulatory landscape was a little bit skewed. Now, with more institutional players sort of entering, regulators have also pull up their socks. And of late, we've seen that not just American regulators, but regulators all across the globe are sort of tightening restrictions. In terms of the Latin American regulators, are you seeing some sort of a change in mood, or what the regulations were earlier versus now as more companies and more institutions enter the play field?
So if in Latin America is any different with Europe and the US, that's the
Mm-hmm.
question. Yes.
Yep.
Um, so like I think the US and Europe are way ahead in terms of regulation, and it's like Latin American governments are not that into crypto yet, and it's like it's not for them, at least for the governments. It's not like they're not in a point of going forward and clear with any regulation. In the case of Argentina, with this new government that actually changed all the previous reasons why I joined crypto, inflation and capital controls that was from previous governments. Now it's a completely free economy, and there's no inflation. So it's like we are very proud of this president and administration, and it's like it's it's like a free market, and they allow at this point there's no regulation around crypto coming in like in the next months. So yeah, it's a sandbox, it's a good play field.
Yeah. So, what are you expecting in terms of regulations in like a year or so? Of course, now it's a sandbox, but there will be a clearer path towards it. Any expectations that you have from the space at large?
Yeah, the space at large, I think the U.S. Government is this administration is very pro crypto. Actually, Eric Trump is going to every uh, crypto conference he was last month. Uh, I saw him speak in Dubai at Token 2049. Then last week he was at a Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas, and he's getting into the stablecoin market with the USD1. Um, Stablecoin pegged to the dollar, of course. So, and the U.S. government administration have like David Sachs, brilliant minds that are very into crypto. So hopefully, they will lead and set the standard for regulation for other regions to follow.
Absolutely, I totally agree with the entire Trump family knee deep into crypto, and we saw the entire Trump meme coin saga which went on, and I was personally also super invested in the Trump meme coins, the millennia meme coins, not financially per se, but I think mentally I was all time on my checking checking different platforms as to where the money is flowing, where the smart money is flowing, and all of that. These are definitely interesting times to be living in and building in the Web3 crypto space for sure. Talking about
Absolutely.
getting back to SenseiNode, you guys are in the top 15 global players in what you do. So, what's your secret sauce? How have you been so consistent with the work you guys have been doing? If are there any key pointers or secrets that you have up your sleeves that you can let other entrepreneurs gain perspective from?
And yeah, so I think that to have a clear focus and an idea and a driven mission, like we are helping millions of people in Latin America transact with lower latency, and bringing evangelizing about crypto in a new region. So that's a very powerful mission, and we are proud of it. And so to have very clear your mission, and of course to have a great team. We also feel very proud of our world class team, like DevOps. From we have people from Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela. Um, so they are absolutely world class, and we are building the rails of crypto in Latin America. So I would say focus, a clear mission, and a great team, and a very clear market opportunity. And now we are moving to new regions. We start to deploy, even though we already have validators and nodes in the US and Europe, because some of our clients, they like so much our work that they ask us to also deploy for them in the US and Europe. And also now we are deploying in Africa, in Lagos, Nigeria, for different protocols, because again, there's no one doing it, deploying infrastructure in Latin America, in Africa, and we are entering also new regions. So I will say, think big, go global, and have a great team.
Rightly said. You've been rather modest about what you said and credited most of that to the team. And I'll get back to how what sort of tips do you have for entrepreneurs later on. But before that, a question that I want to quickly squeeze in would be that in the Web3 space, we see so many new trends come up every now and then. Of course, NFTs, metaverse. Now we're in the times of DePin, RWA, and of course, AI. AI has been like the star of the show in this larger tech race. So, which of these trends are you most excited about, and are you guys leveraging any of these trends with SenseiNode at the moment?
Yeah, and so I think that the most interesting trend for us is decentralized decentralized physical infrastructure networks, or DePin. Uh, for us, is the next leap forward. Like, after years of building a digital race, we are now tokenizing real world infrastructure, compute power, bandwidth, storage, and energy. Okay, uh, but the real breakthrough will come when the pin meets AI, as you mentioned. Um, Today, AI depends heavily on centralized infrastructure, as you know, and this creates bottlenecks, single points of failure. So, with the pin offers an alternative to this, which is a distributed, permissionless way to source and allocate infrastructure resources. So that is the key concept of the pin.
Hmm. Yeah, we're all waiting for that merger of blockchain and AI. And this time, I was on quite a few panels in Dubai during the events where the key points of conversations were the merger of blockchain, AI, or AI ML. And one question that I consistently asked my guests on panels was that AI is something that's still so centralized, and one of the core concepts of blockchain is, of course, decentralization. So it'll be interesting to see how this sort of unfolds in the market, I feel, going forward, and whether the kind of AI that we have in the market right now will be able to adapt to that change over the years, or will we simply be commanded by robots as we move forward. It's a rather interesting topic, I feel. So I think, that being said, I would love to know what your next roadmap sort of looks like in a couple of years for SenseiNode. Are there any key plans around mergers with AI? And you rightly mentioned that the decentralized physical infrastructure network is what you guys are going to be going after. If you can talk a little bit about sort of multiplying into the deepen sector with the use of AI, how is that going to look like? Or if you can just, maybe make a general roadmap of for Sensei Node going forward.
Yes. So there are different missions for us that they will converge all of them in the future. So one is the business side. So from a business point of view, uh, Sensei is a global company with legal entities worldwide, and we can compete with the top players worldwide. So we want to become one of the top node operators worldwide. With this security compliant that we go through, as I mentioned, SOC 2 and ISO, we are ready for that. and to help new regions like Africa, Southeast Asia, Middle East to have more blockchain infrastructure on those regions too. So that is for a business point of view, and also from a technological point of view. As you mentioned, with the PIN, we want to be one of the top players actually in our team. We have an offsite, a retreat 1 month ago, and we decided to go AI first, like to be the first node operator, or the one who most push forward AI, but not only to create products, but internally, okay, as a company. So we are experimenting with different alternatives, incorporating, of course, AI to all our processes and tasks, and to make sure that like the new hires will be really needed, and are things that AI can do it first. So we are incorporating AI internally. Actually, we are probably the most efficient node operator worldwide in terms of total value log and number of employees. Like, we are only a team of 13 people managing $1 billion in assets. So that ratio probably is the most. We are number one worldwide probably in that ratio, if we take in account that ratio. So we think, going back to the PIN, we want to be one of the key players facilitating the access of other small players to join this DePin movement, and to share the capacity, their storage, to help create that DePin network. Actually, we are already part of one that Infra from Consensus is doing their own Infra DePin network. So we are in different projects, and also, of course, incorporating AI. So that is our vision on it.
That's quite an amazing roadmap, and I wish you all the best for it. And right before we log out, I have a very important question for you as an entrepreneur. What are some things that have really helped you sort of stay grounded and keep hustling? And I know that the Web3 space is ever changing. There are new challenges that we as entrepreneurs face day in and day out, and I'm sure that you have seen your share of challenges while building SenseiNode. So if you can talk about a few challenges, how you got through those, and any key pieces of advice for budding entrepreneurs in the Web3 space, Pablo.
Sure. Yeah. Key challenges is, like, as an entrepreneur, first you have to, once you have the clear idea of what you're going to do, like, you need to have a lot of capacity to communicate and evangelize about your idea, either to investors, to new employees, to customers, to providers. So it's like, you have to be really passionate about what you are doing, because this is a roller coaster, and sometimes you're going to be up, sometimes you're going to be down. But the important thing for me is to have the right co-founders. Now I have my co-founder and COO Nacho, and my co-founder and CTO Jesus. So the three of us. Actually, last week was the wedding of our CTO, and we were all together in Barcelona. So yeah, basically, to have the right partners and the right investors. Also, it's I would say it's key to go through all the difficulties that starting a company gives you.
Pretty bang on, I feel. You're right. The right kind of partners, the right kind of investors, and of course, the right mindset. That's what is most important. And interestingly, you mentioned rightly that this is a roller coaster ride. That is something that I completely agree with. There's going to be ups and downs all through. It's important that the vision is clear for you and your team. So, on that note, and on the optimism that you guys and the larger world would succeed in that deep in future that we are looking forward to. On that note, I would love to conclude this interview with you, Pablo, the co-founder, CEO of SenseiNode. Thank you so much for joining us on Money and Me by the Coin Republic. And this is me signing off, your host, Varuni. Any final words, Pablo, before we log out?
Okay, awesome, Baruni. Thank you so much. I have a great moment, and I'm happy to hope to see you soon around these tech conferences, probably. And for all the audience, they can write to me or find me in social media. And yeah, happy to be in touch with all the crypto enthusiasts.
Absolutely. Don't forget to check out SenseiNode and, of course, Pablo. Shoot any questions that you guys have around nodes across the world, or DePin, or AI, in fact, or just chatting about Web3, crypto, getting some more deep insights from him. That would be great. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this interview. And most importantly, thank you, SenseiNode and Pablo, for joining the Coin Republic's podcast. Thank you so much. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Ciao, ciao.